All of us go to the cinema, but few of us ever see a film being made. This applies to Taoiseachs as well as to you and me. In fact, Mr. Lynch admitted yesterday that he'd never even been on a film set before. So his first visit into this world which talks in millions and depends so much on the talents and skills of hundreds of men and women was to the set of Sinful Davy, now being shot in County Wicklow. Sinful Davy, an amusing romp as Huston calls it, will eventually cost £1 million. Much of it is being shot at the old reformatory at Glencree, more in Connemara. And for the purposes of the film, which tells of the adventures of Davy Haggard, a rebellious young Scot, Glencree has become the village of Stirling as it might have looked in 1820. This is a film which will spend more money in Ireland than anything heretofore. It took 180 men to build this set, much of it made of plaster, and it cost over £40,000, all spent in Ireland. Members of the cast and company will spend more than $250,000 in this country. Transport facilities will cost another $100,000. Irish labour, materials and studio rentals will cost just under another $500,000. This doesn't even take into account money spent on Irish acting talent, but all of it is of benefit to this country. The point John Huston was trying to make to the Taoiseach yesterday, however, was that this was really a foreign film. A foreign industry using Irish resources but spending money in Ireland. Huston believes that Ireland could make much more if it had its own film industry. And in a speech at a special luncheon on this set yesterday, he outlined his thoughts on an Irish film industry for Mr. Lynch. There seem to be two basic problems that you outlined. Now, one of these was money, and the other was the availability and training of technicians. Now, where, first of all, could the money for an Irish film industry be found?
Well, I would look to the government to subsidize, to a limited extent, Irish films, then private capital within Ireland, and then capital outside Ireland. Investments, exhibitors and distributors would be glad to invest in Irish films if they could be assured of a flow of product. That's to say, if they could, they could be promised, say, a block of 6 or 10 Irish films, and also be assured of their quality.
You did mention this as programming. How important is this?
It's of supreme importance. You can't have a film industry just making a film at a time. You've got to plan an entire program.
Well, having prepared the entire program, where do we in this country find the technicians or train the technicians?
First, you'd have to find them from outside this country. You'd have to bring them in, that's to say, cameramen, that's lighting experts, sound men, directors. And they should serve in double capacity. They should do their own jobs, and at the same time act as tutors, as teachers to young men who want to learn those trades, those skills, those techniques.
You would think presumably of top men in each of these fields, in all of these fields. How could you persuade them to come to this country?
I think the inducements would have to be discovered. They would have to be paid. There's a great inducement, of course, to the artist. If he feels that he's being given an opportunity to do something new and original. And this is one of the requirements of films today. The strictly commercial film is not all that good a gamble anymore. It's the good film that makes money, that's more apt to make money.
This might be a little difficult to persuade the hard-headed Irish businessman that this was so. he could possibly think of investing money in a commercial proposition. But are you asking him to invest in an art form that won't make money?
Oh, no. Well, I'd simply point to two of the most successful pictures being shown today. One is Ulysses, which I regret to say is not an Irish film, and the other is A Man for All Seasons.
Do you mean then that Ardmore Studios is a liability?
So far as an investment is concerned, yes, it's a liability. So far as the investors are concerned. On the other hand, I think the politicians who supported the building of the studio can take consolation in the fact that it's brought a lot of money to Ireland.
But not a film industry.
But not a film industry, no. That's something else. But it's brought a great, we're spending more than $1 million here in Ireland, and we wouldn't be here if it weren't for Ardmore. So the economy of the country has benefited, surely.
You talk also about the setting...
This is not of great consolation to the investors, let's say.
Of course not. Of course not. You talked also, Mr. Huston, about setting up a council to investigate the whole business of a film industry. That's the finance, the training, everything about it. Who would serve on this committee?
Well, I think financial elements in the government and outside the government, both. Someone representing labor, someone representing the arts, that is who would help decide on the scripts, on the pictures to be produced.
Somebody who knew the business.
And finally, someone who knew the business from an artistic standpoint, a creative standpoint, and finally, and of great importance, someone who knew the business from a business standpoint. Who knew the international market and so on.
Yes. Would you be prepared to serve on this committee?
I'd be delighted to.
Now, let me bring you back for a moment to this business of government investment or some government subsidy. Is there not a danger here that such an industry might become a semi-state body? And if this was so, would it be welcome to you?
That depends entirely on the nature of the government. In Russia, why, it has been that. They've manufactured propaganda films. They're getting away from that now, but over the years they have. In England, they haven't. The government has nothing to say about the kind of films they make, what the subjects are, or the treatment of the films. They only qualify so far as labor requirements are concerned, and so on.
Now, you're an optimistic man, obviously, Mr. Huston, but how optimistic are you about the possible future for an Irish film industry?
Well, let me answer you in this way. I think if we fail to have an Irish film industry, it will be a sin and a shame. I can't imagine Ireland's not having one. It's required.